go down. Which graph represents that? The first one. The last part that we're going to deal with is parallel and perpendicular lines. Before I go on, I made a note to myself that I wanted to tell you guys that you should remember when you have x equals a number, like x equals 3, the graph of that is a vertical line. And you should remember that the slope is undefined. I don't want to take that for granted, so make sure you remember it. On the other hand, if you have an equation like y equals 3, the graph is a horizontal line. The slope of that is 0. If you put this line that I'm pointing at with this line that I'm pointing at, you should notice that those are perpendicular to each other. The reason I imply that, you need to remember that a slope of 0 and a slope of undefined are perpendicular. That's just kind of a side note. Please also remember that when you have parallel lines, the slopes are the same. And when you have perpendicular lines making a 90-degree angle, the slopes are opposite reciprocals. That takes us to problem 6. We have our equation of a line, y equals 6x minus 2. You need a visual. Something like this. It's a fairly steep line. And the directions say what is the equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, of a line that would be parallel to that, but that it goes through 1, negative 3. So we're looking for the equation of a line somewhere around there. It's parallel and it goes through 1, negative 3. I have steps for you and there are only 3. First step is to find your old slope. To find your old slope, refer to the old equation. You should know that slope is the number in front of x, so your old slope is 6. Step 2, find your new slope. Because I want a parallel slope, that's what those two lines mean, because I want a parallel slope, it's the exact same. So my new slope is also 6. After you get to step 2, you don't need step 1 anymore. Step 3 is to apply your new info. The new information is that you have a point 1, negative 3. And that came from the point up there. Think about step 2 and step 3 together. You're given a slope and a point, or maybe a point and a slope. So we're going to use point-slope form to make our equation. Plug in your y value, so you get y minus negative 3, which is really y plus 3, equals m, which is 6 times x minus 1. They want it in slope-intercept form, so distribute in. Y plus 3 equals 6x minus 6. Y equals 6x minus 9. That's your parallel line. The next part wants you to do a perpendicular line. So you have your steps. Here's the old line if you need a visual. And we need a perpendicular line that's somewhere up here. So our line's going to look something like that once we get it done. Step 1, your old slope, comes from your old equation. It's the number in front of x, negative 4. Step 2 is your new slope. In this problem, we want a perpendicular slope. It's opposite reciprocal. So opposite of negative 4 is a positive. Reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. It's like you flip a fraction. So if you need help, that's really like negative 4 over 1, so I flipped it upside down. Step 3 is your new info. And the new info is the 0.85. And that comes from 85. I have a point and a slope, so I'm going to use point-slope form. I'm going to plug in my information. It wants it in slope-intercept form, so I have to solve for y, which means I have to distribute my 1/4 in. And I have to add 5. And that's your answer. In the got it problem, we have one more parallel and one more perpendicular. Part A is a little more confusing because our old slope isn't right there for us. In this problem, when we have 4x plus 2y equals 7, you have to solve for y first. Do some work on the side so we can solve for y. 4x plus 2y equals 7.